Hi, Surinder. How are you doing?
Quite good, quite good.
Great to have you on our podcast, and thank you for taking out the time.
Thank you so much. I'm also looking forward to have a interesting conversation with a young and dynamic business leader like yourself. So looking forward to
Thank you
this
so
one.
much. Thanks for the compliment. So Surinder, as I had told you before, our audience come from diverse geography as well as career path that they have taken. So I think this topic today that we're going to be discussing will be extremely interesting for our audience, which is about creativity and innovation, right? The two pillars that anybody's growth or organization growth stands on, and extremely important in today's context, right?
Yeah.
And then I think the fun element will be the quizzing side of it, and this is the first time we are bringing someone on the platform who can talk about quizzing and fun and learning. So I'm extremely excited about this.
Thank you. Yes, it is. It is indeed a very a novel way of L&D, learning and development through quizzing through such platforms. So looking forward to talk because I have been in this field for the past now almost 25 years, using quizzing as a learning platform and a training platform. So very happy to get to see that quizzing gets its recognition now at this stage and your podcast. Okay.
No, great. That's fantastic. And 25 years of experience, a lot of people who would be hearing this podcast would be 25 years. So it will be fun for them. So Surinder, let's start with your introduction, and I won't do justice to that. So I'll let you introduce yourself to the audience and maybe talk a little about your journey, right? And what made you get into what you did, and how did you get into it in the first place? So,
Okay.
so would love to hear from you.
Fine, thank you. So, my journey goes now almost 40 years back when we joined Steel Authority of India Limited as management trainees at the Bhilai steel plant. Bhilai, as you know, is the flagship unit of SAIL, and all the rail tracks of the Indian railways are produced at Bhilai. We have been producing all the railway tracks for the past more than 50 years. So initially, we got posted in the mines, which was where Dr. Rao also worked. In fact, Dr. Rao was my first boss. So it was quite a difficult area, a lot of IR issues, lots of geraus and problems. And then, as was our system, after a couple, 3, 4 years, we come back to the plant and start working in different positions in HR. And then I almost worked in HR continuously for 24 years, then shifted for 5 years in corporate communication, and then after joining the senior management team, I started looking after business excellence, CSR, liaison and administration, integrated management systems, and so on. And then in November 16, I moved to corporate office, Delhi, SAIL, as executive director, personal administration. Worked there for around 1.5 years. And then in April 2018, I joined Shipping Corporation of India as director HR at Mumbai, and that was the position from which I retired in November 2020. And after that, I am a freelance trainer, consultant, and also now an occasional quiz master. But along with my career as an HR and a general management professional, what I think is slightly unique is that we got into quizzing, and not only at the company level but at the national level. And my team and I, we were the quiz masters for All India Management Association for 13 long years, and did lots of quizzes for state government, central government, different public sectors, standing committee conference on public enterprise, that is scope, the apex body. So in the process wrote 2 books on business quizzing, and have done quizzes on every subject which you can think of, including last year we did a quiz. You will be surprised. We did a medical quiz for doctors in a doctors conference. So we cut a quite a wide swath, and we can do quizzes on any subject now. But basically, it started as HR quizzes, trying to develop people. So
Very
that's
good, very good. And just curious, how did you get into the specialization of creativity or innovation, or even once you got into consulting yourself, why did you choose these two aspects, which are creativity and innovation?
See, I was always into creativity and innovation in the sense when we work in a company, I'm sure you are aware that at the base level, every company which tries to promote creativity uses two vehicles. One is suggestion scheme, other is quality circles. So I've both at the frontline level, at the GM level, I've handled these two subjects, and somehow creativity and innovation fascinated me. So even as a practicing manager, I was conducting training programs and trying to promote creativity within the organization because I always believe that if we take the right steps, maybe in a year's 10 years time or 5 years time we would be able to create a genuine culture of creativity and innovation within the organization. Somehow that did not happen, but my quizzing exploits also relied a lot on creativity and innovation because it was indeed a very creative way to impart training to people. And then once I retired, I realized and did a lot of reading and also found that whether it's your great place to work or your IBM study on 1600 CEOs or the World Economic Forum, all organizations, all institutions now have rated creativity and innovation as a very important skill because knowledge and information per se has lost its relevance. Everything is now easily available. So the only defining competitive sustainable advantage which organizations will have and do have is a culture of creativity and innovation. So the subject fascinated me. I had a history of actually implementing the suggestion schemes and quality circles with moderate amount of success, let me confess. But I knew the practical aspect also, so I got into the theoretical aspect also. Did lots of courses on creativity, including one online course with IIT Delhi. And I get a lot of traction on this subject from both public sector and private sector companies because many have understood that this is an important skill for their officers and managers and leaders, which they should cultivate.
Very well. And so, how do you think in today's context, when there is so much digital innovation happening and AI has taken over, and you just need to open up your phone or your system, and you can get to anything, any information that you want to. How does that impact creativity and innovation in today's generation and in the business context as well? Is that something which is helping in these two domains, or is that something which is really making people handicapped and just dependent on technology and not being creative and innovative themselves? So just wanted to get your understanding for that.
See, one is information is easily available. AI is now presently, it's a tool. Like today, I think for the past 1.5 years, I also not searching anything from Google. I also using AI. Even for designing a program, I use AI, or designing a questionnaire, I use AI. But let me confess that whatever output comes out from that AI, I'm able to use only 10% of that because 90% of it
Hmm.
is not relevant. It's not actually of that standard. So, but what this sort of tool can give you is instead of starting with an absolute clean slate, it gives you maybe an initial, you know, starting point. But beyond that, it will always has to be the individual manager's, his expertise, his experience, his taking a decision. Because at the end of the day, even when we were quizzing, there was one question which I always used to tell my participants at the end of the day, managers will not be judged by what they know. They will be judged by what they execute, what they implement at the shop floor, at their workplace, in their office, in their department, in their company. So AI and all fine. It will may give you some starting points, but ultimately while applying it to their own work situation, the manager's experience, his creativity, his application, his ability to collaborate with others. Because please remember, creativity. When we talk about creativity, it basically talks about five skills. One is the ability to associate, able to connect different dots from different subjects. So that is a cognitive skill. But there are four more other skills which are basically behavioral. It is questioning, observing, experimenting, and networking. So without networking, without collaborating with your team, with your colleagues, with your peers, you can't innovate. So ultimately, you may have all the ideas, which is creativity. Because when I take sessions and I ask a simple question, what is creativity, what is innovation, and what is invention? These three terms always confuse people, and I get all sorts of responses. But basically, there's a subtle difference. Creativity is a cognitive process, it's the generation of ideas. But when we take action, execute, implement that idea, and create a process or a product or an intervention or an employee engagement, anything, that then it becomes innovation. So without execution, you may have all the AIs and everything, but you have to execute at your workplace. That only the manager who's actually working there, he can do that.
No, lovely. I think thanks for bringing out that concepts, right? I mean, logically, we may all think that these are English words and easy to understand, but there are nuances between the
Yes,
two. And if
yes,
not understood well, you can use them, but not really understand what it really means.
quite
So
right,
thank
quite
you. So now that we've got basic concepts of creativity and innovation, let us get basic concept of quizzing as well, right? And
yeah.
how that can be helpful in the business world or the professional world.
You see, if I trace back my history to into quizzing, I was never a quizzer in college or school, and initial years I was more of a producer of a quiz. We started in a very very humble way when I was looking after personal policies and rules, and we found that even our own ministerial staff, our officers in personal department, were not well aware of the rules and regulations. So I thought of a quiz for our ministerial staff, the clerks. And I remember everybody scoffed at the idea that one is, how can you have a quiz on rules and standing orders and CDA rules and disciplinary rules, such a dry subject? Number two, why will the ministerial staff participate? They will not. It's very difficult to motivate that group of people. But anyway, execution has always been my forte. So I went ahead. It was a great success. And it taught me one very important lesson. The young ministerial staff who won the prizes, they were actually average workers in their day-to-day work. They were just average. They were not very good workers. But interestingly, what we found was once they had won the quiz, got the first and second and third position, and got recognition, got prizes, got rewards, within 6 months, they turned into excellent employees. So this gave me a great lesson that recognition in one field rubs onto the person and he develops excellence in other fields also. So having started in that humble way through for doing HR quizzes, and then we realized that it has its advantages. It creates actually a culture of continuous learning. And once people get that lines like Steel Authority of India Limited, courtesy, I would take some credit for that. The hard work which we did for the last 30 years, we have a great culture of quizzing. But again, at the end of the day, I always tell you will be judged by what you do. So, what quizzing does is it makes you aware of the best practices, what is happening around you, what you can implement, what changes have happened. So, while all of us are busy with delivery is doing our day-to-day job, but quizzing helps us get into that discovery mode. Once we become aware of what is happening, what our competitors are doing, whether we can benchmark with some other organization, some other process, and then at the end of the day, whether we can apply it at our workplace. Because again, I've always given importance to the implementation part, the execution part, because you may have thousands of ideas in your mind, but if you unless you implement few of those ideas and the organization benefits or you benefit or your department benefits, then all amount of quizzing will not help. So quizzing is an excellent mind game, mind sport, which teaches us teamwork, ability to take risks. It improves your communication, your presentation. You'll be surprised, we also went to the extent of holding training programs to train people as quiz masters. So now in various public sectors, there are so many quiz masters today who have been trained by us around 20 years back.
Sure. No, that's great. So So, as you know, Surinder, that we come from the world of business and people performance, right? That is what we do at Job, at Joy of Performing.
Joy of
We
Performing.
would love to understand that how, as an HR, did you delve into performance management, both business and people, and where did you find the room for creativity and innovation, and how did quizzing help, in those two aspects of any business?
See, quiz, like I said earlier also, quizzing, just by participating in a quiz or a company is promoting quizzing, it will not enhance the innovation or creativity. But what will happen with is in a slightly roundabout manner when,
Right. But I was actually asking you this
yeah,
question in context of performance management for business and people.
okay. So, see, if you look at performance management, sadly, still most at almost all levels, I would say, because I also grapple with this issue when we talk about creativity, that right from top management to the front line, everybody is in the delivery mode, means doing the routine tasks. What they, after mastering the routine task, after mastering the delivery, they have to focus on discovery. Now, but sadly, most performance appraisal systems, even though they talk, some of them talk about potential, you know, potential competence and all that, but at the end of the day, most managers, this is my experience as an HR person of almost 35 years, that most managers, irrespective of what is the performance system on paper, are judging people on the performance part, on their current performance and the current role. So there is very little scope of discovery and creativity there. Whereas there has to be a balance. Like I always say, once you have mastered the routine, whether you're a junior manager or a middle level manager, you should now go into the discovery mode. Try to find out how things are being done by other people, how best practices can be applied in your area, how you can enhance your job profile. I can say with confidence, wherever I worked, by the time I left that role, I'd almost doubled the role which I had inherited. So, but coming back to performance management, point what I'm trying to emphasize is still the various companies are almost, I would say, almost 80% focusing on the present performance only and promoting people based on the present performance, not too much about their ability to be creative or their discovery skills, because everybody somehow is looking at the operational results. But at the end of the day, then we are not creating and we are not promoting well-rounded individuals at middle and senior level. Once we start
Got
focusing
it.
on this, including in the performance part, you will find that okay, while somebody is doing his day-to-day work, but if he's exploring, if he's experimenting, if he's trying out certain new things, and we have to acknowledge that and give weightage for that, then that culture will come. So while
Sure.
appraisals may have it on paper as a policy, but my experience shows it is almost always on the current performance. I
Great.
hope I
Now going
answered your
back
question.
to no, no, absolutely, absolutely. That is helpful. Now going back to quizzing, what are the different formats that one can use for quizzing or you use for quizzing? And if someone is interested to know more about quizzing, what do they have? What resources do they have today?
See, today quizzing is become almost absolutely changed from what we left 5 7 years back. It's almost online. There are
Sure.
so many WhatsApp groups and all that. But and there's very prestigious quizzes happening fully online now. But those who have experienced the physical quizzes, these on-site quizzes, they are still very fondly remembering those, because that gave you a chance to network, meet people, go to different
Yeah.
places, because that is part of the learning. It's not just
Yeah, yeah.
participating in the, see, if I look at,
Interactivity, right? You
yeah,
interact with people,
interact with
right?
people. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's why last year with one organization again we launched a live quiz at two venues, and slowly we'll build it up. But today this year some other companies also are going and doing online these live quizzes. But see, formats could be a WhatsApp quiz and an online quiz or a mobile phone quiz. and the subjects could vary from management to sports to anything. The point is, why we emphasize on business and management quizzes is because it helps you become better managers. So at the end of the day, as a manager, as a leader, I would be looking for people to be better managers. This is a very very good way where the organization, once it has created that culture and created that ecosystem of quizzing, it has not to do much. The participants themselves, take the movement forward. So compared to the
Lovely.
formal training, which is episodical, once a year or twice a year, the participants, once they are into it, they themselves make efforts, use their own personal time to be aware of what is happening. The only thing they have to keep track is try to implement something which they have learned at their workplace. That again is a point I'm trying to always emphasize. Maybe I overemphasize in this podcast, but that's the message. If somebody, some potential quizzers or would-be quizzers are listening, at the end of the day, it is what you experiment and execute at your workplace, because
Sure.
that is very
No,
important.
that's great. And Surinder, any specific book that you suggest to readers that they can get their hands on for this particular subject on creativity, innovation, or quizzing, or both?
See, again, creativity, there are so many books. One book, if I would recommend one book to somebody which would give a very good idea, would be The Innovator's DNA by three writers, most prominent Clayton Christensen, who also he coined the term disruptive innovation and all. So Innovator's DNA is a very good book, but you have to just put on creativity. You have in India, you have Dr. Pavan Soni's two very good books on creativity and design thinking. So the number of books and quizzes, you have Derek O'Brien's books. You have so many books on quizzing. So, and in fact, today you don't need to read a book on quizzing. You put any subject, you'll get thousands of questions. But the point is, an organization, if it wants to use quizzing as a training platform, it has to go in a systematic manner. It has to train certain people as quiz masters, create a company level or a factory level quiz, promote people to, and then send teams to other prestigious quizzes. So it takes time. But if somebody is starting from, say, 0 or 1 in a scale of 10, in a couple of years, they can reach a position where they will find that there will be not too many people, but a healthy number of people who are into this. And for any organization, if you have got a healthy number of people who are well versed, well rounded, well aware, they become assets for the organization. So quizzing accelerates the learning curve of managers. That is a proven fact. That is a proven fact. Yeah.
Understood. No, very well. Thank you. Thank you, Surinder, for your time today. I think this was a great episode, and I'm sure our listeners would have taken a good amount of information and nuggets from this. Any parting thoughts that you have at the end of the episode that we are at?
Yeah. See, what I normally tell people when I take sessions on leadership or creativity is develop a hobby, because I always say that everything else will perish. Everything else will perish. Mind my words, huh? Your position, your friends, and if you live a long life, maybe your partner also. The only thing which will be with you till your last breath, last moment on this earth, will be your hobby. So have good hobbies, and hobbies especially which you can take right up to an advanced age. So maybe music, singing. As I admire people who sing a song, or music, or reading, and quizzing also is an activity. It's a mind game. It keeps you well. Your keeps your neurons developing even at advanced age. So have a hobby. I'm not just saying quizzing, but I would say a hobby is very important. It increases your creativity. It helps you achieve that work life balance. It enhances your happiness level. And you'll be surprised to know that it's a fact that most Nobel Prize winners have 3 to 4 times more hobbies than a normal person. So you can imagine, if a Nobel Prize winner can get a time to pursue his hobby, then it's something which all of us can do. So use quizzing and creativity as a, and it is a skill which is, it's a muscle. Everybody can be creative. You only have to learn certain techniques, have diverse experiences, have diverse friends, diverse interactions, and you will find that it is a very, very powerful source to solve your problems. I've experienced it personally. Much before I started teaching creativity, I was reaping the benefits of creativity without understanding how incubation works, how you get visualization of your ideas. So it's a fascinating process, both creativity as well as quizzing. And I think I should thank you that you've thought of combining these two things, creativity, innovation, and quizzing, because obviously they are interrelated in some way.
Yeah, we're always looking for interesting topics for us to bring onto this platform. Yeah, and I really think this is one of the more interesting ones, and
Okay,
and
thank
I
you so
think it's
much.
a great thought. It's a great thought to have a hobby, and that makes me thinking as well. What is it that I have taken as a hobby, which I
Yes.
can take to my last breath? So yeah, so something to reflect upon, something to think upon, and something to
Yes.
pick upon as well.
Yes.
But thank you so much.
Thank you so
And
much for giving me the opportunity.
Mr. Jaggi, if people want to reach out to you, what is the best way? Should they reach out to you on LinkedIn, email? What would be the best way?
Yeah, see, LinkedIn is a good way. My email is spsjaggisale@gmail.com, and so easy. And in fact, I look forward to people reach out to me, because you will, after retirement, very few people reach out to you, and so when people do reach out to me, I get a good tasty dinner that day. I get some more respect at home. That's what I say normally in my classes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your time.